Hey guys, nice to see you. So hi guys, nice to see you. Welcome to the live stream. If this is the first time you've been on live stream, then the way that you ask questions is through Skype, and my Skype address is Lisa Cairns 12. It's in the box below. And if you send me a message on Skype, you can either write the question out or you can say call me. But if you want me to call you, please make sure that you have a headset with a microphone that is something like this. It can be a more professional one, but that's just a basic one like that. And please write about what you want to talk about, because there's so many people it's asking to speak or asking questions. It's better if you give me an indication, so then we can have diversity of questions. Also remember, if you're asking a question, to try to be precise and not to go round in circles, and just be aware that this is being recorded onto YouTube, and so it's something that people will watch again after it's finished. So just be aware of that it can't be deleted. So don't overexpose yourself. I trust you to put your limits up when you're exposing too much. If you want to join an event, I am halfway in between updating events on my website. So there is more events that are happening than this, but these are the only ones on there yet. It's an 8-night retreat in the south of Spain, the 27th of October to the 4th of November. So that's from the Saturday, the 27th, to the Sunday, the 4th of November. So you only take 5 days off weeks, but it's 8 nights, which is nice. And that's in the south of Spain, in a retreat center I regularly go to. Then there's online meditation class, which is the last Saturday of every month at 5 p.m. French time, which is GMT. It's currently GMT +2. This is also for anyone that books a session or events with me. At the moment, France is currently GMT +2. So it changes when we change our time in the winter, and then I think France is GMT +1. But at the moment it's GMT +2. So So just be aware of that if you're booking a session with me. So that's every last Saturday of the month, so the 30th of June, which has been now, the 28th of July, 25th of August, and 29th of September. Then we've got a retreat in India, the 13th of January till the 20th of January 2019. I'll also be doing 6 talks by donation, which anyone can come to in Tiruvannamalai, India, the week before that, from 6th to the 12th, I think. But that's not on my website yet. So that's all that's on my website. You can't book for the, you can book for the retreat, but you can't book for the drop-in ones. That's in Tiruvannamalai, India. And if you look on it, it has prices in euros for me, and then prices in rupees for the accommodation and the food, which might be a little confusing, but it has to be like that because they want paying in rupees and I want paying in euros. There's no way that I want rupees. Yeah, well, maybe rupees is a good investment. I'm not sure. But it's super cheap. It's 15 for a single room. It's 15,000 rupees, and that sounds a lot, 15,000 rupees. But I think that's only something like 200 euros, 250 euros, maybe less than that. So it's actually very well priced. It's very basic accommodation. So if you're wanting more extravagant accommodation, then it's best to come to one of my European events. But it's beautiful. I still haven't found there's somebody that might be interested in looking after Khaleesi, and we've spoken, but we haven't 100% committed to that. So if there's still someone that thinks they would like to come and look after my dog and house sit for me in the south of France for a month in January, then you're very welcome to get in touch. The only requirement is that you're experienced with dogs, but I might have found someone. Hi Isabel, hi Beth, hi Thomas. A bit louder. Some people are asking a bit louder. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, Lisa Cairns. Okay, we can put it. Hello, 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 Lisa Cairns. Yeah, it's as loud as I think I can have it going. Just shut things down. So I always like to start the talk with silence, with a bit of silence. Just do it. I'll sit in silence for a little bit. Mind is like, I must be doing something, I must be learning, I must be achieving. Sitting in silence is pointless, it's not for me, it makes me feel bad. It's really beautiful to do. I was really lucky that I met the Buddhists when I was so young, and that I got talked into doing it. I got told it was a positive thing, because when you first start meditating, it is uncomfortable. It doesn't feel that great. So but it's really beneficial to just not do anything. And if you feel the urge, like you really need to do something, knowing that it's not you doing it, you can keep moving your attention into the I am. And I am means presence. So right now this is free. What's happening is free. Life is free. So there's the idea that somebody is experiencing this life, but it's simply an idea. The idea that you're a soul inside the body is not a reality right here. And all answers that you're looking for are right here in this. They're not separate. They're not, the answers that you seek aren't found in a divided mind. So you're never going to find what you're looking for in thinking. So the answers to all your questions, there is never an answer in time. The true answer, what you're looking for, is right here. And right here, there is nobody experiencing life. There is nothing experiencing this. And because there is nothing that's experiencing this, there's no location that's experiencing it, by default it means that everything is experiencing itself, which is so beautiful. So you aren't limited inside the body. You don't exist inside the body. It's an idea that makes it feel like you exist inside the body. Right here, who am I speaking to? Who is looking at me? Who? So what's actually happening right now? Because what happens is the mind is thinking, becomes reality, becomes true for people, becomes what people believe is real, and they have no separation from that. They have no distance. It's just fact that the grass is green, there's a tree over there, I'm looking at the tree, I'm sitting, watching the computer, listening to Lisa, and that becomes your reality. But what's actually happening now? Who's actually listening to Lisa? Who's actually sitting on the chair? Who's looking at the wall or the tree? In this moment, there's nobody. Where is the location of this person? The person reports back in thought, I'm inside the head, I'm inside the body. But that's not the experience. The experience is nothing is experiencing itself as everything. If you want to put it in easier language, you could say the consciousness is experiencing itself. But that consciousness is mystery. The consciousness is not a thing. Doesn't actually exist, consciousness, but it's easier to say that because we have more relatable language, especially if you're not first language English. And the consciousness has a best friend, and the best friend is the I am. And some teachers teach the consciousness is aware of the I am or presence. But as you get more and more into this subject, you see that presence and consciousness are the same thing. That beingness and the consciousness are everywhere and nowhere. They're not actually presence and they're not actually consciousness. They don't exist as a thing, but yet they are all things. And the I am side is love, and the consciousness is emptiness. And they're the bridge between nothing and everything. You could say it like that. But please take everything I say as a way to unpick your concepts, because you know the truth, because the truth is you. It's just you're lost in concepts. You believe yourself to be real. You believe yourself to be someone. And as soon as that separation happens, there's always a sense that you've lost love, because your essence is love. So you always have this sense of looking for love everywhere. And even though you can't perceive it because it's an unconscious act, in everything you do, everywhere you go, you're always looking for love. In your lover, in your work, you're looking for home. And love is the end of seeking. It's rest. It's who you are. You look for it in people, in actions, in being validated, in good emotions, in positive emotions. And as soon as you have a negative emotion, you think that that is moving away from love, and the positive emotions are moving towards love. And that's not true, and that creates this seeking dynamic. It's seeking to always hold on to positive emotions, just like you're trying to hold on to positive experiences which create positive emotions. So buying a house, keeping a house, having children, going on holidays, traveling the world, having dogs, cats, hamsters, snakes. All these things are an attempt to hold on to a positive emotion. So when you buy the house, it gives you a positive emotion. And you want to, the positive emotion that you want to get to is this feeling like you've arrived, feeling like you're home. And when you have a positive emotion, you do feel more home because your seeking energy dissipates. So when you get the house or the lover or the cat or the dog, you know, you've been wanting it, you get it, and there's a relaxation that happens of wanting something in the future, of wanting something else but presence. So this relaxation happens, and there is a sense of love, a sense of being complete. But then the mind comes up with a new thing it wants, the next thing, the next thing. And never ends when you believe that freedom is in the object of the mind. So it's in a thing. So it was in getting the house, in getting the lover, in getting the dog. And then the mind looks for the next thing, and you think that it's in the activity of getting and having a positive feeling. And you think when you have a negative feeling like fear, anger, jealousy, greed, selfishness, that you've lost home, because when you have these negative emotions, you then begin to feel guilty or bad about having them, and you want to run away from it. So you feel really uncomfortable about their appearance, and you try desperately to run away from it. And and you feel really uncomfortable that you did that. Say if you were really greedy and wanted to eat all the potato chips and didn't want your guests to have any of the potato chips, then you'd feel really bad, like you've done something really wrong. And then you begin to imagine what they think of you and why you always like this. Or say with money, you screw up with money. And then you get into this cycle of trying to avoid that negative experience because you want to avoid the negative feeling, which is, say, guilt around money or anxiety or fear around money. And something that I've noticed from working with people is, though, that a lot of people are totally cut off from their emotions. It seems that you get different personality types. So you get a personality type which is overwhelmed by emotions, and they can't regulate their emotions, and they're very emotional, and everything is very emotional to them. And then you get on the opposite spectrum, or the opposite side, a personality type who cannot feel their emotions and don't know what their emotions are. And if you ask them to feel what's going on inside their body, they can't feel an emotion inside their body. And sometimes they'll say it's in my head, and sometimes they'll say they don't feel it, which is impossible. You must feel emotions. So say if you're angry, you have to feel it somewhere. Like, the anger isn't just a thought. You have to feel that anger, otherwise the thought would just be empty. The thought would be easy. It would be like, they're an asshole, but there would be no feeling of anger. It's that anger, like that feeling where it bubbles up in your body. Like, whoop! And so the people that are totally cut off from their feelings is, I think, what's happened. And from what psychologists say, actually psychologists don't speak about it that much. But from other therapists that are in alternative therapists, is that you put your attention in your brain, in here. So your sense of self feels like it's here, and you put your attention there. So the person puts all the attention on thinking. So it's not experiencing life through its feelings anymore, it's experiencing life through its thoughts. So it doesn't know what it feels, it just knows what it thinks. And I think that this can create a deadness. It could potentially create depression or a coldness. It might also be a type of person which explodes in rage every so often, like they suppress. And so they're just a walking eyes and head. And then you get other people that are totally overwhelmed by their emotions, all the time being overwhelmed by it. Like everything is emotional to them. And neither one's right or wrong. But to me, waking up is like a complete dropping into the body, and then the body is life. That sounds odd, but it's like a full embracing of an emotion, because really this body is the external world. So my body doesn't end here, your body doesn't end here, there. Your body, your feelings, your sensations are the external world. So you might think that you're seeing the tree over there, but actually there is seeing happening. The same with feeling. You think that you're feeling the table or feeling the computer, that you are feeling it, but actually there is simply feeling. And the direct experience isn't that you're feeling a computer, there is feeling happening. The same with sight. There is sight happening, the same with sound. You're not hearing me, there is sound happening, and that is who you are in this moment. That's presence. That's the core of being, that's the core of life. But the person is lost in their story of it. I'm listening. That's so mental that you're listening. There is simply sound happening. There is feeling happening. And the same with emotions. Like, the emotions actually don't belong inside your body. The emotions are actually everywhere because your body is everywhere. There isn't this space and this distance between you and the objects. So when you have anger, it's actually life that feels it. But what it feels like in awakening is that you drop back into your body. So when you feel anger, in one way you could say there is anger in the solar plexus, but it's also life has that anger. In the direct moment of it, anger is everywhere. And it feels like my attention went from here to a dropping into the body, and then this expansiveness. And the feelings of the body are, to me, more important than the thinking about the situation. The thinking is important, but feelings come first. I mean, if you think about it, feelings, not just emotional feelings, but all senses, are way more important than just thinking. So thinking, if you think of thinking as another sense, so instead of 5 senses, you have 6 senses. So you think of it as another sense. Like, we take this thinking, this 6th sense, to be the most important thing. So when we make a choice or a decision, we do it all through thinking. But we've got 5 other senses, and then if we include the 7th of emotions, so you've got the sense of emotion, the sense of sound, touch, taste, sight, and hearing. And so when you make a choice, it's like the attention shouldn't just be in thinking. Thinking is only 1/7 of the experience. Then there's lots of others. That's just limited to our words. So there's lots of other experiences happening. So when I'm sitting with somebody, I'm more aware of what I'm feeling, or there's more attention in the feeling than there is about the thoughts about the situation. Thinking is important. I'm not saying ignore thinking, but my physical response to someone is way more important than the thoughts about someone. And it's kind of you, all of it. Your feeling about them, your thoughts about them, everything is kind of you. In the bigger sense, in the ultimate sense. Like, your feeling and them are the same. It's like the sight of them and the feeling of them are the same thing. The sound of them and the feeling of them are the same thing. We're totally told to ignore emotional feelings, though. They're so super important. Like, they're not inside you, they're happening everywhere. So you could even say, when they experience anger, you experience anger. When they experience jealousy, you experience jealousy. But don't worry about it if you're getting confused. Because everything you perceive about them is you, on the ultimate sense, and on the bodily sense, there's nothing outside the projection of the brain. So everything that you feel and think about them is a projection of your brain. Everything that's happening is God. Everything that's happening is the divine. The words coming out of this, doesn't really matter what's yours or what's not, like on the human level. It's that everything is life's, God's, the divine's experience, their voice and your voice. Everything is that infinite power. Everything you see now, everything you feel, everything you touch is life's, is the divine's. This is what the human's forgotten, that your words don't come out of a person. Your words are coming out of the Creator. Your sight doesn't come from a person. It's not a person experiencing the sight. It comes from the Creator. Everything is life's dream. It's so beautiful. You don't have any problems. You just keep dreaming that you have problems. Where are your problems now? Where? Where are problems? Your body is uncomfortable. Your feeling body is uncomfortable because you've been living a lie and you're detoxing from that lie. You've been living a lie that you are separate, so you've been having feelings, emotional feelings that follow that idea that you're separate, that it's your fault, that you're guilty, that you did something wrong, that you could have done it differently. And all these thoughts create difficult emotional reactions. And what you've got to get to, which isn't your doing because you don't exist, but what's got to happen is this flexibility of mind to let all the emotions pass through and not freaking touch them. Just let them come and go. Not try to avoid them, not try to push them away, not to try to live in your head, but just let them come and go and come and go. So now if I'm making you feel really ecstatic, it's not holding on to that, not creating a story around it, just letting that static feeling come and go. If you feel guilty, it's just letting that feeling of guilt come and go. You can work it out to an extent, but only in a limited way, like not spend the next 10 years trying to work out which parent gave you the guilt. It's like you can investigate it a bit to understand it, but don't put too much effort into that. It's more about feeling that feeling, letting the guilt be there. And then you can begin to transform it by saying the opposite. I'm not guilty. I am innocent. And as that feeling begins to transform, so as it stops being stuck in the negative, and the only reason I'm helping you get out of the negative is not because it's about trying to get away from negative feelings, it's because you got stuck in them. When you identified, you got stuck in negative emotions because you got afraid of negative emotions and tried to avoid them. And through the act of trying to avoid them, you encourage them. It's like if I say to you, don't think about an elephant, don't think about an elephant. All you can think about is an elephant. So it's like, don't feel fear, mustn't feel fear. All you can feel is fear. Don't feel guilty, mustn't feel guilty. Don't make anyone feel bad, mustn't make anyone feel bad. And then you're encouraging it. So you can transform those emotions because your chakras have got stuck. But don't spend too much time thinking about it. It's about coming back to presence. So you allow that difficult feeling of guilt to be there, and more than likely guilt is going to be either in the heart or the solar plexus, but mostly the heart. So I'm guilty, and you can chant it, I'm guilty, and when you're ready you can say, I'm innocent, I've always been innocent. And feel that chakra open, and as it opens then you go, I am, and you go back to presence. I am, this is, and it's free. That's another thing you can do, is keep moving your attention back to presence. And if you feel that you're getting stuck, then you can book a one-to-one session with me. You can call in these live sessions, but don't allow yourself to keep staying in the same story again and again and again. Should I leave my partner for 20 years? It's a story. If I make more money for 20 years, I'll arrive if I make more money. 20 years it goes on. If I make my mother understand for 30, 40 years. Don't get stuck. It's thoughts, it's emotions stuck. The emotion's stuck and it's creating the thought again and again and again and again and again and again. This is freedom. Your presence is freedom, and it's seeing through all the illusions of the thinking mind to coming back to this. What is? Don't even let non-duality get you stuck. Don't let this get you stuck. Don't let there is no doer get you stuck. There's nothing to be done. And before that, before you got into non-duality, you were saying there was nothing to be done because you couldn't do it. Like if you're getting stuck on the thought, there's nothing to be done, it's most probably a powerless feeling that you're getting stuck on underneath that. It's always you're getting stuck on emotions and then believing the thoughts are true, and it's seeing that none of it's true. So the Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree for 40 days and 40 nights, and the illusion, Maya, so the illusion of the mind presented heaven, virgins, women, big boobies, money, palaces, beauty. And the Buddha touched none of it. Just came and went, came and went. None of that is his freedom. It's not that you can't have beauty, but he didn't take it, the beauty was there presenting itself, but he didn't take it as giving him freedom. Didn't give him anything. What you really look for your whole entire life is presence, not a thing. So he didn't associate that any of that gave him freedom, or that any of that reflected back at him. And it's the same with the hell. The hell presented itself: war, violence, obsessive thinking, hatred, revenge, jealousy. And instead of going sucked into them, he just let them present themselves. Identified with nothing. Nothing is him. He didn't even identify with him being this Buddha that wasn't being attached to the feelings or thoughts. They just came and went and came and went. And then after 40 days and 40 nights, poof, there was this massive disidentification with the body-mind, this dropping back into love, the Buddha nature that was always there. Yeah, ta 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 ta. You are free right now. You can drop out of all of that bullshit right now, right here. This is it. This is freedom. And even though it sounds like I'm talking to you, I'm not talking to you, because you, the illusory you, cannot listen. The illusory you can't hear. That person is being experienced. The one that says, what she says is interesting. That person is being experienced by this infinite space, by divine. That's not you. You're not limited to this person. I have to investigate my emotions. But that's not you. It's not you. You are this infinite space. And we can sort out the person to an extent, deal with the personal stuff to an extent, but then coming back to see none of it's you. You are free. You're right here. And most of your questions will come from a personal dynamic. So people always get frustrated listening to questions because they can't bear listening to people's personal dynamics. But even if you were to ask, why does consciousness hide? That's most probably a personal dynamic. It's an emotion in you arising. Like, why is it hiding from me? And there's this sad child that feels like its parents have left him or her. Why is consciousness hiding from me? And there's this identification with abandonment that's happened in that person's life. And it's seeing it's not true. You've got a feeling of abandonment, and then your mind comes up with questions based on that feeling. So you embrace the feeling of abandonment, you let it in, and then you say, I'm not abandoned, to help it balance the emotion. And then in that there is presence. There you are in the center of all things. There's nothing to run away from in time. There is nothing to get in time. Your freedom is the timeless, and the timeless is a mystery. It's an absolute mystery. and it's free. Okay, I take questions now to make sure all the internet is going okay. Yes, the internet is looking good. Hey Jerry, nice to hear from you. Hi Lisa, wanted to follow up on our talk on Wednesday. I'm still stuck in the feeling of grief and pain in the heart, and I can't get in touch with love. Was hoping for advice. Would love to talk if possible. Hello Lisa. Sure. Visual. Let me just put in my headphones. Hey.
Hello?
Hey.
Hi. How's it going?
Yeah, good, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad. Yeah, I've just still been kind of working through this. Yeah, it's just a tightness in the chest. Yeah, I've been crying a good bit, but I don't know. Yeah, I guess yeah, it's just like, maybe it's just like, it just feels like this endless well of grief and pain and sometimes anger in the chest. And yeah, and I'm just not getting in touch with. I feel like I don't even know what love is.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't even know what that. I mean, it's probably crossed by a million times. I probably just hadn't even. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like I don't know. It just, I can't even imagine what love would be at this point. I
Yeah.
don't know if that makes any sense, but.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I think that this is common,
Hmm.
that people don't know what love is. You most probably do. You've most probably had experiences of love, but your mind has confused it with owning something or having something.
Hmm.
Sometimes also people don't know what love is because they've been cut off from their feelings and they can't feel things. So if you can't feel your feelings, you also won't be able to feel love.
Yeah, I mean that's certain. I think that's been me for quite some time, and only now. Yeah, yeah. I've just been in my head,
Yeah,
like you were saying,
yeah.
for such a long time, and
And
this
I
sort of.
and I wouldn't worry like if it takes weeks for this energy or months even for this energy in your heart to pass. It's coming back to life.
Hmm.
So what you're feeling more than likely is um, your sense of abandonment from life. Like if it's the heart area, it's mostly about this rejection that life has rejected you. But then it will have been projected onto the parents, onto society. So when your mum rejected you, so you'll have picked up her rejection and the rejection of when she rejected you. Like, so this feeling of not being loved by people, of being abandoned. And this is there. These feelings arise. So when somebody treats you like your mother did or like your father did when you were a young child, these feelings will arise, and then unconsciously you'll then start to try to seek for that love again. So when you're in relationship with someone, when you have a romantic relationship, a lot of the time in the relationship you're seeking for comfort from them, and you're seeking for home from them. So and it's a feeling, it's this feeling of not relaxing, but it's hard to think about because you've never been taught to think about it, and thinking is a taught thing. It's not a free will in which anybody has, because it doesn't belong to anyone. It's a pattern that arises. So when you're with your partner or your lover, you'll have your particular patterns that have been established by your mum and dad, and then you will seek to achieve things from them. And it feels like agitation. So if you relax and feel your body when you're with them, you'll see that there is this slight agitation happening in your body, and you'll be able to identify where the agitation is. And then there's this urge to try and get something from them. And when you get what you're looking for, it will relax that discomfort in your heart area. So when you get their attention, or they cook for you, or whatever it is that turns you on, when you get that, or it could be sexuality, whatever it is, that will then relax in your heart, and you'll begin to feel bits of love, because the seeking energy will dissipate, and love will begin to shine through slightly, and then you'll think it's them, and then you'll get into this pattern with them. More than likely after years though, you'll begin to resent them, because they can never really give you what you're looking for. You can never have this sustained relaxation. So normally in relationships, we're waiting to achieve this moment where we feel like we're home with them. And we have brief moments of it, and normally in the beginning there's more moments of it when you have when you first get each other, and then you both are trying to find home in each other, which will create lots of conflict between each other, or lots of resentment will build up, and there's all these unconscious patterns that will begin to play off that. So a belief that they could really take something away from you. So rather than, so say if they mess up the house and leave it really messy, rather than you just being angry about that, you begin to feel that they took love away from you, and then it has a whole bigger dimension to it. You're not conscious of that again, but you feel more contracted. So when you see the mess, you feel more contracted, and so you feel further removed from love. So you think that what they've done is more serious than what they've done, and you get stuck in arguments with them, because really what you're trying to do is get to expansion, but you can't get out of it with them. So you get more and more contracted, and you keep on arguing and arguing and arguing. I'm not saying that arguments shouldn't happen. Arguments are healthy and should happen. I know that sounds really weird for a spiritual teacher to say, but it's healthy that you argue. But these seeking dynamics are different. These seeking dynamics are that you're always trying to find rest. With each other. You're always trying to find home, and you can't find home in another person. But it is important that you do argue with each other, because that's part of being in a human group. And sometimes when we get into spirituality, we think that all anger or arguments must go, all negative feelings must go, and then we try to pretend to be peaceful, and this is just a repression of being human. Humans argue. We get into conflicts, and it's healthy. It changes an energy, or it changes a belief system between you both. It makes things happen. That's a healthy thing, and often people that say they don't argue, I'm sure that's possible, but if they say too much they don't argue, it's most probably that they're not aware of their feelings, and they're not establishing their boundaries properly.
Or they're willing to bury them.
Yeah. And you've got to be. This subject to me is really being fully human. You've got to be willing to be a bad person, or what society considers a bad person. I don't mean like stealing and all those sorts of things. It's unlikely that you're going to do that unless you're
Yeah.
super poor or something, or on the
Mm.
starving to death. But I mean, like when I say bad person, is you got to be prepared to be seen as an asshole. You've got to let out your assholeness. Like I don't mean like beating someone up or being really abusive. You have to be careful when you say things on the internet because people take it to the extreme. I mean,
Yeah, of course.
like if you want all the cake, it's always about food with
Hmm.
me. I'm a particularly greedy person. If you want all the cake on the table, you've got to express that rather than
Yeah,
pretending that you don't. Even if you don't express it out loud, express it internally, at least yourself. Like like the enlightenment is not, certainly not, pretending you're a good or peaceful person. And this is healthy relationships, is being able to confess that you want all the
yeah,
cake and you don't want to share it. Like
yeah.
it doesn't mean you don't end up sharing it, because also like understanding compromise and living with people, but you can admit that. So you can be prepared
Hmm.
to be an asshole to people. You
Hmm.
admit when you get angry. Like that's gaslighting and really like deceptive behavior to not be honest with your partner. Sometimes you're not aware of it, but to be angry and pretend you're not, the other person could pick up on that feeling. So like pretending to not be it is, to me, less ethical than being it. If you're angry, you got to be angry. You got to be an unenlightened douche. The
I
only
agree.
reason you want to
Yeah.
be peaceful is because you don't want to experience, or people don't want to experience, negative emotions or conflict. Conflict is
Mm.
super important between us. It's just part of life.
Mm. Yeah, I'm glad you're saying all of this because yeah, I think the last couple of relationships, I was made to feel bad for bringing things up. You
Yeah,
know, people do, like just yeah, like like a lot of these women, just like, oh my God, it's one thing after another with you. Like, yeah, because there seems to be a lot of
yeah,
there seems to be a lot of things we're not talking about.
yeah.
But
And that's not the right person for you then, if they're not able to hold that.
and
There is
but
people
that
out
seems
there
to be
can
like,
hold you. Huh?
yeah. And I think that's another thing. Like that seems to be like at this point, it's like 100% of the long-term relationships I've been in, though. Like people who can't, women who cannot hold that,
Yeah,
who don't appreciate vulnerability or just a deep honesty. You
yeah,
know, I don't know. There is a sort of, I don't know, like a subconscious attraction to the sort of that subtle manipulation you're talking about.
yeah.
Um,
And so when you
yeah.
next get a girlfriend, really put it in your intention. So be
Mm.
consciously aware. So you're looking that you want someone um, that that you can share everything with.
Mm. Right.
Do you go on many spiritual events? Do you meet women that are into spirituality very often?
Uh, I feel like, yeah, I mean, I do. I mean, the thing is, it just seems like all of the teachers that I'm attracted to attract women over the age of 55. So,
Yeah. Oh, you should come on one
yeah.
of my retreats. I attract young people.
Oh,
It's
oh,
always
cool.
this is one way thing to, when you go on retreats. Although I
Hmm.
don't do retreats in America, though. I do sometimes go
Yeah.
to LA, but
Oh, nice. I'm in LA. All right.
yeah, yeah. So the teacher will tend to attract similar age range. So if the teacher is older, they'll attract older people. So younger,
Hmm.
they'll attract younger people, because it's just about relatability. That people feel
Yeah.
that they can relate to people in there that aren't too many generations away from them. It also depends
Ama-
about the mother and father thing. I think that plays a big part.
uh,
Like
hmm.
like dependent on your mother and father. Like if you've like you'll also see. So another thing that I observe with different teachers and with myself is that different teachers will attract different mentalities. So sometimes
Hmm.
I attract rebellious people because
Hmm.
or rebellious natures, or creative people, because I'm like that. So if you notice, when I do my live stream, I don't do it in a fancy way. Like I don't have a flower next to me, and I don't do it organized, and I just get up to go to the toilet.
They always have a flower next to them. That's or a photo of a guru. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I just I'll go to the toilet, I burp, I talk to Khaleesi, like I do everything that just comes. And so therefore people that have a big sense of, or a sense of order, so maybe more ordered people, might not be attracted to me and might find me too chaotic. So I tend to attract more rebellious people and more creative people. I'm not necessarily rebellious, but I'm creative, so I'm a bit chaotic. And so therefore people that are very organized, they might see it as like a spiritual challenge, like, woohoo, we're going to go to Lisa and and challenge that dynamic. But it could also be that it repels people that like more order. And so you'll notice also with, with teachers that project a big father figure or mother figure, you'll notice that people that go to them often are looking for the mother figure. It's really funny to watch all the different teachers of what they attract. But yeah, you were saying.
Yeah. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I hear this. I've heard the term a heart-centered approach more and more often. I don't know. Is that something you'd kind of characterize yourself as,
A
or
heart-centered.
more heart-centered?
I'd say that the that everything, to me, is everything is about love. So it's not about this dead consciousness that's empty. It's about love, and some teachers teach that that the source of everything is emptiness, and I don't think that's right. I think that emptiness is form, and form is emptiness, and the form side of things is love, and the emptiness side of things is wisdom. So I see love as super important. It's half of this. It's this emptiness and this love, and one can't come without the other. So you could say that's a heart approach. Like it's really about love. Like that's all that anyone wants. If you're really honest with yourself, what you want is love.
Yeah, and I think that maybe I think that's honestly why I gravitate towards you. And there's a couple of other teachers that I've been shifting towards because I mean, I think my natural inclination has always been towards the wisdom teachings, but I'm finding it's a bit dry now.
And maybe at first that's what you needed. Maybe now that's the other side is the love, because sometimes you do need really rigorous pointing. And I think that this life is beautiful the way it works. Like it moves you right in the direction that you need to be in. So I think sometimes in the beginning you do need this rigorous pointing of the emptiness. But then the other half of it is this love. And it's not secondary, the love. Like people often are saying that the emptiness is the first, but that would be separation. Of course, all things must be that emptiness if it's a non-divided reality. What else was I going to say about the love side? What I was trying to push towards is that the love isn't this big, huge falling in love. It's like falling in love, when you fall in love, that this big drama. It's home. Like love is home, this sense of being at home. Like the right now, you're not in an alien environment. Like this is what I think a lot of people feel. You're at home. This is home. You're in yourself right now. Everything. And that's what the love is. It's like this gentle rest. And it's love. It's not this high excited, like they're so wonderful, ba 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 ba, like this mania. I can sometimes have that in the personality structure, but that's not it.
That sounds familiar, actually. It's okay.
You'll be amazed. You'll be amazed. It's been happening your whole life.
Yeah, and maybe I was just looking for that, that fireworks,
Fireworks is like a side effect. Like I often am having the fireworks, but I often get tired and I get sleepy and I get grumpy. Like I'm also on the human side. I have all those things, but I can have a lot of bliss and a lot of like ecstatic joy. But That also might be a personality thing.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
Yeah, but
It tends to be a side effect for me. Is a lot of joy. And
mm,
sometimes I still feel a little embarrassed expressing all that in front of others.
yeah. But at the end of the day, that's not.
It
Yeah, that's just a side effect or the
That's a
byproduct
feeling
of.
that comes and goes. The love
Yeah.
is beyond that. The love is this deep rest. That ecstatic joy is a feeling. It's like a feeling that appears in the human.
Oh. So love is beyond a feeling. Is that, or is it just a very subtle kind
That
of?
this I don't know the answer to that. I don't
Mm,
know. People argue whether it's a feeling or not.
yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
let
But
me
you just
just
know it's there.
yeah, and it's see some people would say it's the first manifest feeling. Some people would say it's not a feeling. It's love. It's this gentle glow and this non-separation from anything, and it's home. I don't know what that is. It's
Yeah.
it's but a
Yeah.
joy,
Well,
a mania, and bliss. All of those come and go.
right.
And you do know this. You know it super well. You've had it all your life.
Maybe it's just obscured.
Yeah, it just gets obscure, but you do know it. But you
mm,
don't have you can't see it. So the person reports back only things it can see.
mm,
The person reports back that it's happy, that it's excited. Some people teach it like this, if it helps. Some people teach it that you can see it, and it's called the I am.
mm,
So if you say the I am, and actually you can't see it, and it's like teaching the consciousness thing. You can't see consciousness either, but sometimes it's like a stepping stone. So this
yeah.
I am. Now it feels like at first that you can see maybe that I am, this presence. Do you know what's meant by I am?
Um, that's always, I hear it all the time. I don't think I've ever gotten it, to be perfectly honest. The whole I am thing.
Yeah. What happens when you say it, I am? Not I am a name, so not anything that goes into imagination, but just I am before name.
I, I mean, nothing special, it seems.
Okay, so
Yeah.
do when you so throughout your life, so you've mostly heard lots of people teach the consciousness teaching there that you were in every experience you've always been conscious, and there's never been a beginning or an end to that.
Hmm.
It's the same with the I am. So if you think back through your life, on your base feeling of being, this sense of being, not this empty looking, but this sense of being alive, it's never changed. You feel that same aliveness as when you were 2 or 3. So my friend described it to my mum. My mum's not into this subject at all, but when she turned 70, she's now 74, but when she turned 70, she said, I can't believe it. I don't feel 70. And she said, it's a shock when I look in the mirror and I see this 70-year-old woman looking back at me. And so he said, how old do you feel? And she said, I don't know, but not 70. And he said, it's funny, isn't it? Because that feeling of you being alive is ageless in a way. It's always the same feeling of being alive. It doesn't have an age of 70 or 2 or 10 or 20. It's this sense of being alive that feels free of any number. And she really agreed. And to me, that was her. I felt like she was getting this sense of it beyond her age or beyond her sense of being somebody or being the body. Does that resonate at all? Or it still sounds like mumbo jumbo.
No, no, no. That actually. Okay, and that's the I am.
Yeah, that's the
No,
I
yeah,
am.
yeah, yeah.
So it feels like you can see the I am at first, and it also feels like you can see consciousness, but you can't actually. It feels like you're turning and looking at them. They're everywhere. So I used to feel like, so I used to do the I am practice because I came from Ramesh and Roger and Nisargadatta Maharaj. But I didn't really know that they were teaching it, but for some reason I picked up on doing that. Like when I went and saw Ramesh, he wasn't actively teaching it, but I somehow started doing it. And I just started chanting I am. And it felt like the I am existed in my heart and it was inside my body. And then when I had the awakening, the big awakening experiences, the big last one, I had many before that, but the big last one is it felt like that I am, or the empty looking, it went two ways. It went backwards and it was totally empty. So my looking went backwards and it was totally empty, like there was nothing inside my head. And then it also felt like I fell out of my eyes, and that was this I am that I felt was inside my body, went everywhere into everything. And it was like love was actually everywhere, and the I am was totally detached from the personality structure. But it felt like at first, because it had always felt like it was contained inside my body, it felt like it was falling out my eyes. So it felt like, so what happened was I was looking at this waitress, I think, or it's getting further and further away, the memory. But I was looking at the waitress, and at first it was, gosh, they're beautiful. And you know when you find something beautiful, you kind of like really are like involved in it. Maybe you get really involved in it. And then it felt like I was looking at them, and then it felt like my looking was not getting closer to them, but this sense was falling into the experience. So the I am isn't contained inside the body either. And this is why I'm very adamant that the empty looking and the I am is the nothing and everything. Like there's no separation, there is no consciousness, there is no separate empty looking or separate I am from everything. They're one movement. At first, when you break it off, it feels like there's consciousness looking at the I am, and then looking at the world, and there is a person. So you feel like the consciousness is the base, then there is this I am, this presence, and then there is a person. And then this shift happens, and that consciousness and the I am stops being held inside the body, and then it's just everywhere, and it no longer actually exists separate from things. And then everything, the reality becomes empty and full simultaneously.
Yeah, that touched me in some strange way. You know, that that's not currently my lived experience, but I don't know. It just seems to.
It's resonating beyond words. You know it.
Yeah.
Another time, so when I was having the awakenings prior to that, I happened at Arma's ashram. Have you heard of Arma, the hugging mama?
I actually just met her a little while ago,
Yeah?
and that's kind of what started this heart opening.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think she's quite powerful. I don't know so much about all that, but I ended up at her ashram in India, and I was staying like a week or something, or 5 days, but I managed to get a hug every day. I managed to fall into every category of getting a hug. I can't remember the categories. You know, it was maybe like under 30, woman one day, only staying 5 days, like leaving. I managed to get a hug every day. And then on like our second from last day, Roger, my partner, was off queuing up for tickets, train tickets the whole day, which is very common in India. So he was away the whole day. And it started off in the morning with bhajangs or something. And suddenly like the music was playing and I just fell out of my eyes. And I was so involved in the experience that I didn't know that I was involved in the experience. I didn't know anything. Like I was just so intimate with the experience. I completely forgot myself, and it was so, I was just shocked, but at the same time there's no one that is shocked. And this went on the whole day, and I felt like I was walking around like a lunatic, but I had no sense of that. Like I couldn't think I'm walking around like a lunatic. It was like I was stoned or drunk, just totally fallen out of my eyes into all things. And then I remember Roger came back and it just stopped. And I tried to say something to him, and his response is best not to talk about experiences. That's about, what could I even say? I was like, nothing just happened. Like you can't even, what could you say? It's happening to us all the time. And when the big experience happened in Bali, I saw that it had been happening my whole life, and I just couldn't see it because it didn't contain a thought. You can't think about it.
Yeah. And that's I've been so in mind for so long. I think this whole notion of, not being in thought, I'm just kind of coming into that that notion altogether. I've been trying to figure this out.
The craziness, the magic of this life. Like, how random is it that you go and hug an Indian lady who's really, from all records that I've heard, like really, really quite crazy, and her ashram is really, really crazy. But you go and hug her and your heart opens. Like, I go and stay in her ashram and I get a hug every day from this lady who I can't even understand what she's saying, and her followers are totally crazy.
Out of their minds, yeah.
And then it's like this really crazy, beautiful thing happens. Like, life is really magical and it doesn't make sense. And you don't need to follow logic that anyone teaches you, including a guru. Like, the secret to life is the magic, like you felt as a child, that childlike wonder where you didn't know why the trees grow or the sun shone or why we were on this ball in the middle of space. And we still don't know, we just pretend we know. Yeah, when I was at the ashram, she had a tooth operation, and the juice from her tooth, the followers were wanting to drink the juice from her tooth because they think it's like gets them enlightened or something.
What the hell?
It's really, really crazy if you ever go to ashram.
Yeah, I got a taste of that in LA because when I hugged her, there was something going on that I just could not explain, that I just never really experienced, and I stayed there till from like 9 a.m. till like 1 in the morning. It was just an unspoken resonance, and all I knew was you just need to sit in this. You just need to take this in as much as you can. And there has been an opening, a deeper opening into that sort of mystery, and it does feel like I'm falling out of my mind, and not like in a crazy way, as in like, I don't know, there's just a different sort of space that I've been inhabiting little by little, especially when I'm with a teacher, when there is that resonance happening, I can just fall into it a little bit easier. So the listening takes on a different quality, speaking takes on a different quality. I don't know.
But we are crazy. Humans are crazy, and we're all trying to act sane, and that attempt to act sane kills us. Like, we are crazy. Like, it is a bizarre experience, this, and it's also embracing your craziness. Like, embracing that you don't make sense, that you don't have a solid character, that in every moment you're changing and different, that when you're with one person you're one way, and when you're with another person you're another way, and you change your mind, and you're constantly different. There's no solid you. In every moment it's afresh.
I don't know why that I don't know, that just kind of woke up my heart a little bit. Like, there's just like a little burning after you said that, but try not to figure it out. I'll try not to figure it out.
You can do it sometimes, so you can go into the feeling afterwards. I'm sure, we're pretty simple, so it's mostly abandonment, lack of love. So you can go in and see that and feel that, and then you can, when it's ready, you can attempt to move it to the positive, like, I want love, I want to be loved, I am loved, I will be loved, I will be free. But you don't need to get too complicated. You can also examine a little bit where it came from. Like, you can look to see and remember, about your mom or your dad, or like if it's attached to any experiences.
Yeah. And that tends to come up spontaneously, just because yeah, and that abandonment, that's really resonating. I think
Yeah,
it is very much being abandoned by mom, dad, by God. Actually,
yeah,
I used to have a wonderful relationship with God, and I'm trying to kind of develop trust in God again,
yeah,
in a way. That's kind of been my way in. But yeah, it's been yeah, I guess yeah, maybe it's just I just need to trust that it can happen. It's gradual. Like maybe I'm getting impatient, like I just want to trust now. I want to
yeah.
trust this unknown force now,
But it's really
but
moving to this moment. So
hmm,
it's like if there is distrust now, that's what you've got to be present to, not the imagination of where you're going to arrive to, that one day you're going to have it permanently. It's really collapsing into whatever's happening, like giving up your investment in the timeline. And the timeline is only helpful for survival, for working out about your auditions and where you have to go. I'm watching this really funny TV program at the moment about a comedian in LA called
hmm.
it's just a sitcom. It's called hang on a sec. It's so funny. And she went to in one of the episodes. She went to Fox Studio and got banned because she threw yeah. So when so it's totally dropping into the madness of now and letting the mind work out the practical, but that's all it's for is the practical. It's called
Hmm.
Lady Dynamite. Have you heard of
Oh
that?
yeah, I've heard of that.
It's
Yeah, I've heard
really
of it.
crazy. I'm sure it's not a lot of people's cup of tea, but I just like the craziness and the stupidity of it. And she's always in therapy. Like, they never show the therapy sessions, but she's always talking about what the therapist says and like
Yeah, that's most people in Hollywood. So
yes, so it's really funny. And then she's got like really narcissistic agent that's like, okay, fuck off out of my office now, out of my space, like, and then like really fake praising. It's very funny.
yeah, yep, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Hmm. Oh.
Okay, thanks, Fisher. Is that how you
Thank
say your
you.
name?
I'm so, it's Vishal.
Vishal. Thanks,
Yeah.
Vishal.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
Hi, Nima. Excuse me, I need the toilet. I'm going to the restroom. Somebody else needs the toilet, please. Hello. Oh, I don't have to put them in now. I have a quick question about relaxing logical mind. Can I call to talk? Sure, Nima, just let me say hello to everybody first. Hey, Alexi. Hi, Laurie. Hi, Marco. Hi, Thomas. Hi, Leave. Hi, Jerry. Hi, Bradley. Not so many people or questions tonight. So I'll just take one more call in. So Neem, you can call now. Or I'll call you. Nima. Oh. Hey, Nima. This is strange. Hello. Hey, Nima.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. How are you doing? Could I just ask you to
Good,
turn off
thanks
your
so
video,
much.
please? Could I ask you to turn your video off,
Oh,
please?
yeah, I will turn off my video. Yeah.
And do you have a
Yes,
headset?
yes. Now it's
Like
off,
with
yeah?
a headset with a microphone?
I don't have a... let me bring my microphone. Let me bring my headset. Just a second.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh, all right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Lisa, I have a question that's
Yes.
about
Yes.
2 years ago. I started. First of all, 4 years ago until 2 years ago, I was having a lot of great experiences in the spiritual process. And after that, about 2 years ago, I started teaching English to many students. And in the class, I started having a lot of ecstatic experiences, and students could feel that too. And slowly, I started having problems with my feelings, and I felt that I can't keep up with the ecstasy anymore, and the ecstasy that I was feeling is not coming. And it is like I had a memory of my ecstatic feelings, and I couldn't make it anymore. So these 6 months and 1 year, I had a lot of pain in my life. But now, about yesterday or today, I started watching Muji and the non-duality talk, and I realized I should just relax my logical mind from time to time, so the same feeling will come back again. So I just want to ask you about this, that um, is what I found true, that time to time we have to relax our logical mind completely.
Well, I would say that that's a really healthy thing to do, but I would also suggest that you're addicted to ecstasy, which is not sustainable. It's not sustainable like all the plastic we use in our society.
Exactly.
And that's what I would address if I were you. But yeah, totally, you need to relax the logical mind. So listening to talk and getting into that energy of no mind is really beautiful. But from your story, I would say that you're addicted to ecstasy.
Yeah. I had a student. That in the class, she's about, I think, 9 years old or 8 years old. And when I started speaking, she really enjoyed the class, and she was also in ecstasy at that moment. So we would connect so deeply on the ecstatic levels. And after some time, the next trimester and the next semester, she came and told me, "Teacher, you changed, and you're not like that anymore." And I didn't know what to say, because the I couldn't repeat the ecstatic again. And I was so sad at myself, that why I cannot create that experience for her again. And it's been 8 months that I have been trying so hard to just give the same experience to her and to the class, but I was completely I completely failed to give the same experience. So it is like they expected me, especially that student, ex-
Yeah.
expects me to be the same like last time. But I really, and I even promised to her, I told her, "Don't worry, I promise I will fix this." So it's been 8 months and I couldn't fix it. And but today I realized just relaxing my logical mind can actually bring balance to all aspects of my life, including that. You know,
Just let me feel into this for a moment.
thank you, thank you.
When I was in Thailand, I used to walk Khaleesi through all these different packs of dogs. So on the beach,
Yeah.
there would be different groups of dogs, and we had to walk through them. And there was this one pack. Eventually, they got used to us, and they got used to Khaleesi, and it was fine. And there was this one pack where there was this ecstatic dog that was really hyper and really manic and really like running around like and if a human interpreted it, the human would be really happy about that. Like the human thinks that it's ecstasy, like thinks that that's a good thing. And the dog was running around and being so ecstatic all the time. And do you know what the other dogs did to it?
What happened?
They attacked it and they pinned it to the floor until it stopped being in that ecstasy. And do you know why they did that?
Why did they do that?
Because the dog that was running around in the ecstasy was out of balance. When I went to an orphanage in India, I went and visited the orphanage. Some of the other people that were visiting took the kids loads of toys like balloons and poppers and streamers and these different very cheap toys, and the kids in the orphanage weren't used to it. So when they got given these toys, it was in the evening, these kids went crazy. They were so ecstatic, they were running around screaming, and I began to feel a bit uncomfortable in that environment, so I moved myself. And I thought, most humans think that that's what happiness is. And that's not what happiness is, but that's what they spend their life trying to recreate, is that ecstasy of euphoria.
Oh my God, exactly.
But it's not what you want. What you want is deep rest. It's almost like those kids were equally agitated as they were excited. It was like too much energy, and so the way they dealt with it was running around crazy, like really like too much energy for their body. It was too overwhelming. And actually what you want is this piece of who you are, the end of seeking. It's not ecstasy that you want. It's this moment that you want. Exactly. The story that you tell yourself about the ecstasy and getting the ecstasy and having it and losing it, this is all story. Yes. What you want is this moment. And this moment can be ecstasy, there can be anger, there can be joy, there can be grumpiness, there can be tiredness, all of those feelings. As humans, we always look for one feeling and believe that we have to have one particular feeling, and that feeling has to be a positive feeling. But that's not freedom. The freedom is below our feelings. The freedom is in the middle of our feelings. It's this moment. It's who you truly are, which is this I am and this empty looking, these two dynamics that never change. Your feelings change. You had most probably an awakening, and then the awakening created that ecstasy, like the children being given all those balloons and toys, and then your mind got addicted to that ecstasy, and now you're in the other side of it. You're in the depression of it because your body can't sustain that amount of ecstasy.
Exactly. Yes.
So now you're exhausted. Yes. And what you want, all you long for, is that ecstasy to be back, that mania to be back. But that's not balance. It will come. Yes. It will come with the depression again. It will come. It will be out of balance. A feeling isn't your freedom. Freedom is this. Freedom is whatever's happening here, the good and the bad, the light and the dark. Freedom is being fully human. Fully human. And not human at the same time. Ecstasy is one part of being human, and it's not happiness, it's not freedom. It's super intense ecstasy, and it's agitated. If you really feel it, you'll see that there's agitation there.
Yes, there is agitation. There is agitation, yes. Yes. My friend used to say she went to Vipassana, and she said that when the ecstasy happens, somehow there's parasite. I don't know if the word in English is right. The presence of that person throws some deharmonized frequencies when that happens. I can somehow feel that actually.
Yeah. So listening to talks and calming down is really good and coming out of the mind.
Yes.
And also seeing that there's a freedom beyond that ecstasy. So you're having awakenings, and that ecstasy isn't it. That's an outcome. That's a byproduct. There,
Yes.
below that, beyond that, there is a freedom. But that's enough. That's all you
Exactly.
need to hear. We don't need to talk anymore about it.
Yeah, that's all. Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you.
Yeah, with love, Nima. Nice to speak with you.
Nice to meet you. Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Hey, Thomas. Beautiful, great advice. Conflict is unavoidable. Got to stand your ground. Be true and loving. Hi, Lisa. Beautiful talk today, as always. I am amazed how natural and loving you are. It evokes such a nice and loving response in this emotional body. You're such a beauty, clever, pure, wonderful lady speaker. You can guide people so well, and you totally grab most inner issues that cause a problem. Please excuse if not appropriate to feedback, just my observation. Thanks, and thanks for a pleasure to listen and feel you. Lots of love. Thanks, Chris. But no, I really appreciate that, and I love speaking about it, and I love your gratitude, and thank you for being grateful. And I really appreciate what comes through this body and being able to speak about it. But know that also this body can get grumpy. Doesn't tend to come out on live stream, but it can get grumpy, it can get tired, it can be all types of things as well. And the reason that I say that to you is so that you can relax on yourself and also not have false expectations about what you or what it will be. Like, this is being fully human. So you see a side of me where I'm talking about this, like it's not like a dynamic where I get grumpy. I don't tend to. I sometimes actually get grumpy on live stream. Yeah. So there's also like it's being fully yourself, like not being arrogant in any way or false pretenses about yourself. It's not like being an Instagram account where you're always putting up the best pictures of yourself. It's really being fully human. And I am quite a positive and joyful person, but maybe that was my character as a child, as a young child in the playground. Yeah, but I just love that humility side. Like, to me, that's really important, to be humble, to the humanness of this experience. But thank you so much. Hi, Conrad. Is this Conrad from the retreat? Oh yeah, there was somebody that asked me to. I don't think I'm going to get able to handle all the questions. I said there wasn't many, but now there is. So Melaine asked. Melanie asked me to answer this question. She's not here, but she's in Australia and is asleep. So this is for her when she wakes up in the morning. The question that often pops up for me, and I have confusion reconciling the two aspects. is there a separate aspect of consciousness, personal aspect, that continuously evolves through eternity with the greater context of absolute nothing? I suppose it could be referred to as a soul. And does it reincarnate? Thanks. Lots of love. The personality structure, if you want to call it a soul, you can, but I think that would be a bit confusing. But the personality structure is always evolving. And we're always evolving as humans. And I like to think that the human is evolving to represent this more and more in its life. So it's like the human becomes conscious of itself as beingness, as presence, as well as being a human. And I like to think the human dynamic is evolving more and more to line up with that realization. So at the moment we're in the phase of awakening, so people, like the majority of society is still asleep, but people are waking up more and more and more. And then that the dynamics of being human, I presume, will grow and expand, and that's endless. I mean, it could be endless incarnations. I don't see as reincarnation as such, but in Buddhism we were taught rebirth, so it's dynamics, it's patterns and habits that are reborn, but not a person, because there isn't a solid person. But nice question. Okay guys, that's enough. There's lots of people that haven't answered again, but I am now off for dinner and to walk Miss Khaleesi, who needs to go for her poo. She kept making windy pops through the live stream, and I was very dignified and not saying anything, but it was going into my nostrils as I was speaking. She's outside now. And I was going to play you a really lovely song just before we go. This is from Hoam, H-A-O-M, and it's called Harris. Oh, that's the name of the song, and it's by an artist called Harris. It's really beautiful. Oh, I've been enjoying it this week.
I came to be a son. I came to be a brother. I came to be the one. I came to be a lover. Hallelujah. Allahu Akbar. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. I came to be the sun. I came to be the water. I came to be alone. I came to start all over. Hallelujah. Allahu Akbar. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Hallelujah. Allahu Akbar. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya.
Thanks, guys. Bye.